Hello, my horror-loving dudes. I'm Killjoy Jake, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down why I think Scream 6 is bound to be disliked. I think folks have been a little too harsh on Ghostface's latest appearance, but let's talk a little bit about why.
Well, sometimes that is better.
So getting right into this, obviously one of the biggest and coolest things about the Scream franchise is that at its core, it is a murder mystery. Throughout every single film, you are constantly looking at characters, guessing who it could be. Oh, that was kind of suspicious. What's going on here? There's red herrings about. They're constantly throwing your attention at different characters who could be the one who is killing all of their friends. Now, while that is one of the most popular aspects to the Scream franchise that not every single slasher movie has, there's so much more that Scream has to offer, and that's why I think it's the phenomenon that it is. A lot of the Scream films are very meta and comment on the slasher genre and what it means to horror fans. What's great about it though is that it never comes off as malicious. It's always just kind of ribbing you a little bit, giving you a old poke in the ribs saying, you silly slashers nowadays. I don't think Scream ever comes off as giving the middle finger to slasher movies. It just feels very fun and bubbly and, well, has a bit of an attitude about it that I really love and respect about the franchise. It's also one of the only slasher franchises to carry characters over across like every single movie. Gale Weathers is in all 6 of these bad boys, and she has a pretty interesting character arc. There are so many aspects to the Scream franchise that make it unique that I just don't think it's fair to judge a single film based off of its murder mystery, especially with a franchise like this. Like Glass Onion or like a Knives Out movie, that's a little different. That is kind of the point of those films. They have exuberant, eccentric characters too that are a lot of fun to hang out with, but was that Glass Onion reveal all that good? I'm not gonna say it because I won't spoil it for people, but like, it was pretty obvious. With that point though, Scream 6's mystery was also very obvious, something that many people have pointed out. And even though I love Scream 6 to pieces, I'll admit the murder mystery was pretty easy to figure out. Even if you didn't see the leaks prior to Scream 6's release, you might have figured out that Dermot Mulroney was our killer the whole time, after the sequence where his daughter dies and he comes out crying. He specifically says to Sam that if you mess with my family, you die. It's so melodramatic and over the top that it's pretty much a dead giveaway that yes, he's our lead killer. The issue here in Scream 6 is that the best murder mysteries know how to not only fool the characters present in the film, but also to fool the audience. You have to get both of those things tight or it's not going to work, and Scream 6 breaks one of those facets right there. They cover up things for the characters, because Sam is under the impression that this guy is just upset that his daughter died, and immediately after he says that to her, she says something to the degree of, right on, man, right on. The performance there just did not sell me at all, and I was pretty convinced that he was the killer. And well, I ended up being right. Most people came to this conclusion after that scene too, as to what I've been seeing in comments and internet threads and all that fun shit. So I get why there's a distaste towards this movie, especially because of the third act. But I just think if that one thing sours the punch bowl for you, you're not seeing the full scope of what this movie has to offer. There's 2 big points I want to make about the Scream franchise here. Number 1, I don't think Scream 6's main focus was to give us a brilliant murder mystery. And second, I think that there's so much more for the Scream franchise to offer that Scream 6 especially hits on really well. Now, I've already covered in this video why I think the Scream 6 mystery is pretty obvious, at least for one character, but let's talk about more aspects to the film that basically give away who the killers are so easily. Out of all of the movies in this franchise, Scream 6 has the most safe characters. There are really only 2 people who have returned from past movies who could have been the killer and it would have made some sense, but still I don't see them doing this with either of those characters for this film. Running through those characters real quick, you have the core 4, Sam, Tara, Chad, and Mindy. I would love to see Sam play a Ghostface killer at some point in the future, but I just don't think it would have worked for this movie. She was our central protagonist this time around. We focused on her many times while she was getting chased by someone in a Ghostface mask. I just don't see how that would have worked with an accomplice. Like, why would she be trying to do that? Everyone in the group already trusts her, so I don't really see why she would be trying to pull the wool over everybody else's eyes. I just think that would have resulted in a very messy movie, and I'm glad they didn't do that here in Scream 6. Kirby and Gale also came back and pretty much served the same role in this film. But Kirby could have been the killer in this movie. We hadn't seen her since the events of Scream 4, and we only learned in Scream 5, or Scream 2022, that she was still alive. To paraphrase Kirby from Scream 6 too, she talks about how she wanted to be stronger and feared by the bad guys out there so that she can fight against them. But there's a lot of people in Scream 6 who just couldn't have ended up being the killer. It just wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. Devin Nakata, who plays Annika, dies like, what, 30 minutes into the movie? She's not our killer. Jack Champion's Ethan and Liana Liberato's Quinn are the only other two members of the friend group who are new characters, so obviously they're suspicious. Josh Segarra's Danny character is the love interest here, and my god, if we make another love interest the killer again, I'm gonna strangle somebody. And Wayne Bailey is one of the weirdest movie cops I've ever seen. Like, he's acting very suspicious throughout the whole movie. He's very clearly our main Ghostface. But that's not really the point of Scream 6. Scream 6's reveal is less about the actual reveal itself, it's more about who these people really are. When Dermot Mulroney gets revealed to be Ghostface, he even says, yeah, of course it's me. Like, yeah, we all had that figured out. The twist of the whole movie is that they're the family of the killers from the previous movie, and that they doxed the fuck out of Sam Carpenter before the events of the film even happened. So you can say whatever you want about the guy. He's very eccentric and, well, makes some pretty dumb decisions throughout the film, but Dermot Mulroney's Wayne Bailey is probably one of the most prepared Ghostfaces we've ever seen. More to that point too, Scream 6 is more focused on the crazy chase scenes, the kills, the set pieces. There's so much more that this film has to offer that I feel like people are just completely overlooking because of one negative thing. I think when more people start to realize that Scream 6's goal was not to pull the wool over your eyes and make you think, we got you with that ending surprise, didn't we? It's less about that, and it's more about the crazy twists and turns throughout. It's more about the journey than the destination. The Scream franchise has so much more to offer than a killer reveal. Like, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of the Scream 2 killer reveal. I don't think Debbie Salt is all that interesting. It was pretty damn obvious from the get-go. She's constantly berating Gale Weathers. She even says outright, well, the killer must be someone from Woodsboro. And it doesn't really add that much to the overall story of Scream. She's just a mom that's upset about her good boy dying. Billy Loomis did nothing wrong. It's silly, it's over the top, it's goofy, it doesn't really add much to the conversation. I'm just not big on Mrs. Loomis. But does that mean I hate Scream 2? No, absolutely not. The characters are very strong in Scream 2. I think the ending of the film is very powerful, what happens between Cotton and Sidney, and it also has arguably some of the best chases in the entire franchise across the board. You can't tell me that the chase scene with Dewey and Gale running through the records room sucks. Like, that is awesome. I want to compare Scream 6 to Scream 3 for a moment. In the first 20 minutes of Scream 3, they pretty much give us a dead giveaway as to who is doing all of this. In the opening scene, when Christine and Cotton both get killed by Ghostface, we get the reveal that Ghostface this time around has this little voice changer box that can make you sound like anybody on the planet. I'm not a big fan of this because that technology just simply did not exist in the year 2000, and a lot of people like to comment on my videos and say it did, and I think that's really funny. I get a big kick out of that. But now that we know that about Ghostface, apply that knowledge to the sequence with Sarah Darling, where she gets first a phone call from Roman Bridger, and then she gets a call from Ghostface. So this is clearly Roman Bridger covering up his tracks. He calls Sarah Darling first, and then calls her back as Ghostface to then kill her. It's a dead giveaway to the audience, and the cherry on top of all of it is how Scott Foley acts when the police approach him afterwards for questioning. He's so suspicious in that scene. But what I will give to Scream 3 and to Roman Bridger specifically is that if you didn't know there was a voice changer involved, that's pretty brilliant from Roman's part. Detective Bailey, on the other hand, just kind of gives it away and gets all emotional in that sequence with Sam. It breaks that thing that I was talking about earlier, where you not only have to fool the characters in the movie, but you also gotta fool the audience at the same time. It's not an easy thing to do, admittedly, but both Scream 3 and Scream 6 break that at one point or the other. But once again, does that mean I hate Scream 3? No, not at all. It's one of the most unique Scream films out of the entire bunch. It's much more of a horror comedy than any of the other films in this franchise. I don't even think it's trying to be scary. I see a lot of people judge this movie based off of that, but that's not the goal of Scream 3. Just like how Scream 6's goal is not to pull the wool over your eyes and be like, holy shit, Detective Bailey was the killer the whole time? What? Scream 3 is not trying to be realistic or be scary. It's just trying to be a goofy little horror comedy. And at that, I think it succeeds. Why this franchise is one of my all-time favorites is that every movie appears to have a different goal. Scream 6 tries to enhance a lot of the nuances that come along with this franchise. If it's reinventing the idea of the opening kill by having a Ghostface go after another Ghostface, getting a killer reveal in the first 10 minutes of the movie, that's awesome. Scream 3 does the same thing. It's trying to be this goofy horror comedy with a bunch of cameos and this Hollywood vibe to it. It's very different from the original movie and, well, every other movie in the entire franchise too. I just don't think it's fair to judge any sequel based off of the intentions of the first one. If you're making a sequel, you should try to skew down a different path. You shouldn't try to make the same movie again. And that's why I respect the writers for both Scream 5 and Scream 6. They didn't just make the same movie again with Scream 6, they tried something entirely different. Scream 2022 is possibly the darkest film in the entire franchise, but Scream 6 is possibly one of the most fun movies. There's so much versatility in the two radio silence Scream movies. I love it. I think that they're great. And obviously it's bound to be disliked because the killer reveal isn't all that good, but there's so much more to offer in Scream 6, just like how there's so much more to offer in Scream 3. I would argue that both Scream 6 and Scream 3 deserve a closer look, but what do you guys think? Do you like these films, or do you feel like they're some of the weaker entries in the Scream franchise? Leave me something about it in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please consider supporting this channel on Patreon by clicking on the link in the description below. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.